Good morning, children. This is Ragini Singh, and today we will discuss about resource and development. This is the first chapter of your geography book, and we will learn something about in this chapter, that is resource and development. So, first of all, what is resource? So, as you read earlier about resource, that everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs, it is called as resource. Suppose you have your fountain pen, you have your notebook, you are sitting on the furniture. All these are the resources for you because you are using presently. But in this chapter, I will add some more points for the resources. So, resources can be termed as resource when it is technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable, can be termed as resource. So we will discuss one by one, but first we will take a look of this picture. So this is the interdependence relationship between the human being and the nature. So this is the nature, physical environment, this is nature, and technology. The human beings use technology, and the human beings set up institutions just like the industries and factories and shops, and by these technology and institutions the human being interpret and interdependent relationship with the nature. So when these three are joined all together, then it will be considered as the resource. Now we will discuss the technologically how the resources are technologically accessible. Suppose I am a owner of a furniture shop and I have to make some furniture. So first what we will need, I will need some logs, wooden logs. So we will go to the forest, we will cut the trees and make the logs, and then with machines and tools we will convert these logs into a furniture. So these machines and tools which we are using to transform these logs in a furniture are called as technologically accessible. Because of these machines and tools, the human beings are able to transform these logs, natural resource, as a resources. So resources are those which are technologically accessible. Now economically feasible. Now you have to purchase those furnitures which I prepared. So if you have some money, then you can purchase the furniture. If you don't have the money, you cannot purchase the furniture. So the resources are those which can be economically feasible. जब आपके पास पैसा है तभी आप उसे एक्वायर कर सकते हो. Then third one is the culturally acceptable. In this sense, I will give you an example. In Punjab, the land of soil of the Punjab is very fertile for the cultivation of tobacco. But in Guru Granth Sahib, that is the regional, it is a religious textbook for Punjabis. So in Guru Granth Sahib, it has been mentioned that the eating tobacco is not permissible according to the text. So though the soil is very fertile, the soil is very useful for the cultivation of the tobacco, but it is not acceptable culturally because religious text and the religious people, they do not give permission to eat tobacco. So eating tobacco is not culturally acceptable. So if resources can be termed as resource when it is technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable. I hope you will understand. Now the classification of resources. So here you will take a look of classification of resources, and we will classify the resources on the four terms. First one on the basis of origin, and on the second one, that is on the basis of exhaustibility, and the third one on the basis of ownership, on the basis of status of development. So one by one we will discuss about all these four elements of the resources. So first, here you will see the biotic and abiotic. This is on the basis of origin. So some resources are biotic. So except human beings and there are flora and fauna, fisheries and livestock. All these are the biotic resources. Mainly we can say the thing which has life, that is biotic resources. And the second one, that is abiotic. So some soil, water, light, mineral, sand, rocks, all these are the abiotic resources because it doesn't have lives. So on the basis of origin, the resources are classified in two things: living things, that is biotic, and non-living things, that is abiotic. So biotic resources obtained from biosphere have life: human beings, flora and fauna, fisheries, livestock. Abiotic resources composed of non-living things, rocks and metals. Now the second one, that is on the basis of the exhaustibility. Exhaustibility, does it mean renewable and non-renewable? As you know, some resources are renewable, as like water and wind, and some resources are non-renewable, just like the fossil fuels and the metal and the soil. All these are the non-renewable resources. So we will see the element, the objectives of the renewable and non-renewable resources. So renewable resources which can be renewed or reproduced by physical, chemical and mechanical processes. All the resources which are transformed and reproduced by physical changes, chemical changes and mechanical changes. So solar and wind energy, water, forests and wildlife, these are renewable resources. We can reproduce again and again by using. And renewable resources may further be divided into continuous or flow resources. Now the next one, non-renewable resources are formed over a substantial long geological time. You can take the example of soil, mineral, fossil fuels. So this is not converted in a soil and fossil fuels in a day and month and year. It took a longer time, millennium of years it took to convert into a soil and fossil fuel and the metals. So these can subdivided into recyclable resources. Just like the metals, we can recycle it again and again, and non-recyclable resources, just like the fossil fuels, which cannot be recycled and get exhausted with their use. So we have to use all these non-renewable resources in a very systematic and sustainable manner. Now on the basis of the ownership, so this is very easy: individual, community owned, national and international. Now we will see what are individual resources. Suppose your father owned a plot of land, your father owned a house. So all these are the private property, is known as the individual resources. Just like the plantation, pasture land, ponds, water in wells, all these are the individual, which acquired by the particular individual person. Then community resources. Suppose you are living in a community, in a colony, and there is a playground, there is a pasture land, there is a club, tennis club. So all these are the community resources, because the people who are living in that community, they can use all these resources. That's why these are known as the community resources. Next one, that is national resources. This is very important. Logically we can say all the things which are available, which are there in the fixed boundary area of the nation, is the resource of the national resources. But roads, mainly we can say roads, canals, railways, minerals, water resources, forest, wildlife, land within the political boundaries, all these are the national resources. And a part of these, the term territorial water, the unique and specific term here it is used. So just give a look. Territorial water refers to the oceanic area up to 12 nautical miles. That is, this is not 19.2, this is 22.2. It has been given in your book, textbook, 22.2. So 12 nautical miles of the coastal area, it is the resource of the nation. So any nation, particular nation, can establish any economic activities within 12 nautical miles of area, that is the 22.2 kilometer from the coastal line. So this is the national resources. But beyond that 22.2 kilometer, that is not the national resources, it is the international resources. So here we will see international resources are regulated by certain international institutions. So some authorities, international authorities are there who regulate all these resources, international. So these include the economic oceanic resources beyond 200 kilometer of the exclusive economic zone. So between the 22.2 kilometer to 200 kilometer, this is a specific economic zone. Here this is the specific unique word, exclusive economic zone, where any nation can set up and establish any economic activities with the permission of the international authority. But beyond that 200 kilometer, the international authorities can establish any economic activities with the permission of all the international authorities. So these are the examples of the individual, community owned and national and the international resources. Now on the basis of the development. So on the basis of development, first, potential resources. So potential resources are those found in a region which have not been utilized. Example, wind and solar energy development potential in the states of गुजरात एंड राजस्थान. गुजरात एंड राजस्थान में बहुत पोटेंशियल है वाटर एंड विंड एनर्जी की, बट इट इज़ नॉट यूटिलाइज्ड बिकॉज ऑफ द लैकनेस ऑफ द technology. So potential is there, but we are not using because of the lackness of the technology. So developed resources are those which are being determined, surveyed and utilization both qualitatively and quantitatively. So the development of resources depends on technology and level of their feasibility. So those we are using, the resources which are we using at present, those are known as the developed resources. The next one, that is the stock. Stock refers to material in the environment which have the potential to satisfy human needs. हमारे एटमॉस्फेयर में वो सारे मटेरियल्स जो हमारे नीड्स को सेटिस्फाई करते हैं, दैट इज स्टॉक. बट बिकॉज ऑफ द टेक्नोलॉजी, बिकॉज ऑफ द लैकनेस ऑफ द अप्रोप्रिएट टेक्नोलॉजी, वी आर नॉट using these. Suppose water is a compound of two gases, hydrogen and oxygen. Everybody knows H2O, but we do not know the combination, we do not know the technology how to convert hydrogen and oxygen in a particular ratio to transform in a water. So that's why, because of the technology, we are not using since we are knowing the elements. So these are the stock. Reserves are the subset of the stock which are yet to be put into use with the help of existing technology, know-how, the skill, the expertise. All these we know, but these can be used for meeting future requirements. इसे छोड़ दिया गया है कि हम बाद में जब हमारे पास टेक्नोलॉजी होगी तब हम इसे यूज़ करेंगे, और इसीलिए ये रिजर्व्स के रूप में हमारे पास प्रिजर्व्ड है. So river water can be used for generating hydroelectric power, but presently it is being utilized only to a limited extent. Hydroelectric power हमारे देश में बहुत अवेलेबिलिटी है, लेकिन बहुत ही कम जगह पे हम इसे यूज़ कर रहे हैं. हमने इसे छोड़ दिया है कि जैसे जैसे हमारे पास टेक्नोलॉजी हम एक्वायर करेंगे, वैसे वैसे हम इसे यूज़ करना शुरू करेंगे. सो इन दिस वीडियो, दैट्स ऑल फॉर टुडे.